Here with the Cobber head coach Terry Horan, fresh off a trip to Canada. First time the Concordia's ever done a trip like that.
Right.
What was the reasoning behind that trip?
Well, you know what? A lot of schools in our league, they've been starting to do this. A lot of times when you hear of an international experience, you hear of schools taking part in week-long, 2-week-long ventures across sea and whatnot. But being that we're so close to Canada, we decided to look into it, and there's a lot of benefits to it. Obviously, to prepare for a trip like that, you get 10 padded practices, which most people probably out there don't really realize that Division III has limitations, and we do. I mean, in our league, we get 7 practices in a 4-week time frame, and those are all non-padded, non-contact. And it's just basically everything is on air. Well, and we were able to get those plus the 10 padded practices to prepare to go up to scrimmage and practice with this club from Regina, Saskatchewan. And I'll tell you what, Jim, the experience that we had throughout the month of April was incredible. I mean, our month of April went so fast, but we were able to get a lot done and a lot accomplished. And really in Division III now, Division III is looking at the possibility of spring football. So I know that's been kind of on the table and on the talks. And what we experienced this year, I'm in all support of it. Granted, at our level, we want to see a lot of our kids play as many sports as they can, and we don't want to take away from that. But I think for a lot of our young kids that they gain valuable experience in that whole entire month that they probably weren't able to get even during the fall because they're a scout player most of the time.
Take us through the trip itself, when you guys left, and then what happened up once you got to Regina.
Well, this is our first experience, like I said, but we thought we mapped it out pretty good, and it worked out. We were very thankful for Regina to accommodate us because they really didn't start their practices until like 3-4 days before we showed up. So what we did is May 2nd was the last day of classes, last day of finals, okay, and that was... Then that Saturday, May 3rd, we had a spring game, and the spring game was the ending of it was our 17th practice, and the 10th padded practice, and it was incredible. We brought in our parents of our current players. They tailgated as if it was a game day. We brought in our incoming class and their parents. They joined in on the fun, and then we brought in some recruits as well, and we had a great scrimmage. It was a nice day, and it came down to the very last play on 4th down on the 4-yard line. We had Team Mistro versus Team Willits, so there was a lot of that kind of fun going on. But then the next morning, that Sunday morning, the 4th of May, we got on 2 buses and we headed up to Canada, and we crossed the border just south of Winnipeg and went across to Regina, and we get there, and their hospitality was unbelievable. They bring us over to their clubhouse, and they prepared a kind of a barbecue style dinner for our kids, and we checked our kids into the hotel, and then our staffs got together and went through a practice plan, and then we got up on Monday morning, the 5th, and they had 2 hosts really that kind of got on each of the buses and brought us around Regina. And the first stop we had was the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Heritage Center, which was incredible for our kids just to see the process of what these men and women go through to be a mounted police, the pride, the tradition, the courage, what it all takes to be that type of a person. Was incredible for our kids to see. I mean, they're dressing up in the red coats and the hats, and we had a great time. And then we were able to go over and see kind of their Capitol building, and one of their former players of the Saskatchewan Roughriders greeted us and just talked a little bit to our kids. And then we went over to the Rough Rider Stadium, and on their big board they had "Welcome to the Can-Am Exchange." Concordia College, Moorhead, Minnesota, which was pretty cool for our kids to see us on their jumbotron. And we had a nice luncheon. Media was there. We exchanged helmets and toured their locker room facility, and then we went to their IMAX theater in town there and watched a movie prior to practice. But then when we got to the practice, we had really 2 practice sessions. The first practice session we ran it with American rules as our coaching staff did, and then the second practice their coaching staff took over, so our kids were learning all the different motions offensively, and because as in Canada, as you know, their rules are different, their field is a little bit larger, and so then when we scrimmaged at the tail end, we had two 20-minute running time halves, and they went by Canadian rules, so when they were on offense, we had 12 guys on the field defensively, which was a little interesting to say the least. And then when we were on offense, they played with 11. And there were times, though, we were in four-down territory that we used all four downs, and in Canadian football, after 2 downs, you're punting.
Yeah.
So ball control was pretty good for us, and then we hopped on the bus after that. It was about 11 p.m. in the evening, and they picked up some pizzas for us, and we drove through the night. We got back into Moorhead about 8 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday morning, and then our kids left for home. So it was, when we first lined this up, the whole reasoning for it was to get those 10 extra practices. But you know what? After experiencing that trip and being able to be with our team, just the togetherness, the team building, everything that you would want in a coach and how to end your year, it was that trip. And I think all of our kids, I know our staff, but I'm pretty sure everybody was wowed by the entire experience.
Now, going forward here, you have a couple events in June. You have your annual 7-on-7
Yeah.
passing camp. It's the 14th year. That's pretty impressive to have that.
Yeah.
But then talk a little bit about what was the reasoning behind you're going to start a youth academy now for the
Right.
first time ever?
Right. Well, the 7-on-7 passing tournament is something that we've been doing for, like you said, 14. We're going on 14 years now, and it's been really good for us, and it's a good recruiting tool, obviously. But we get mid to high teens in teams now, and again, we're going to be that large again. But it's nice because we've got the facilities to kind of manage it all, and there's really never a team that's sitting out. They're always constantly playing, and I think a lot of high schools really like that. The youth academy piece of it is something that we're diving into this year, and we'd like to get even bigger with a lot of the other different camps. Maybe even getting into a team camp type of thing down the road. But part of it is, I have 4 kids, and now they're all getting to the age where they're, my 2 boys are into football, and they're at that age where they want to be into some camps, and so why not? Dad should run a camp. So and we've got the staffing to do it too, and so we're really excited about that. We'll see what our numbers like, but even if we just get a handful of kids the first year, we're going to be building in those numbers, and we're excited about that.
And then you'll have a little bit of a break. You'll take July off and then get ready for August. What are you going to do in that month off?
Well, really, it's crazy. I mean, our Division III lifestyle of, we're already recruiting for next year's kids. We've been on the road spring recruiting, finishing up this year's class. I really have a window probably from, that right after that youth academy until through the 4th of July weekend. And then we're back in here as a staff preparing for the season and getting our ducks in a row. So there'll be a few weeks off, and we got, we're heading to the lake a little bit. My wife works out at the Moorhead Country Club, so she's in her busy season right now. So I'll be bringing kids out to the pool and maybe swinging the sticks a little bit too. But it's always it's a fun time too, because it's you're preparing for the upcoming season, which always brings a lot of excitement, but it also is a time where you got to spend with your family too, because they put up with a lot of Coach Horan during the season and then some.
All right, last thing. What is one thing you're most excited for the fall?
Well, that's a great question. There's a lot of things I'm excited about. I guess the biggest thing I want to see is how much this spring really helped us as we prepare for the fall. And right now I think it will help us a lot. I mean, we end up getting 17 practices plus our trip and what we got up there in Canada as far as our practice. So I want to see how much better prepared we are as we get into camp. And we start camp, our kids report on August 14th. And right now we have 49 young new recruits that are coming into camp, and then on top of that our 90 returners. So, you know, our new locker room is going to be packed, which is always exciting. But yeah, that's probably the one thing that I want to see is you know, did spring help us for the fall, and are we going to be that much more ahead of the game? And I sure hope so. Once every 3 years is going to continue to happen, and because this trip and everything we experienced was great. And again, I'd be a big fan to see spring football too after what we experienced.
Enjoy your summer.
Hey, thanks, Jim.